Hello, my name is Seth Dellinger. I'm a Feldenkrais practitioner located in Washington, D.C. And I'd like to invite you today to practice an awareness through movement lesson in a chair. So the first thing you need to do is find a chair with a firm surface, no armrests, no wheels on the bottom. Please place that chair in the center of your available practice space, so more or less in the middle of your room. And this lesson is going to be about creating a new connection with your surroundings. So we're going to do some movement exploration that I think is going to help you to find more comfort in your body. But right from the beginning, I'd like to invite you to consider that you're in a relationship with your environment. So first of all, notice how you're relating to the chair that you're sitting in. Are you leaning on the backrest? What's the position of your head in relation to your pelvis? Are your feet connected to the floor? And if you tune into your breathing, what's the quality of your breath right now? Where inside your torso do you feel the movement of your breath? Now, however you're sitting, would you please reposition yourself now and come to the very front of your chair so that most of your thighs are not touching the chair, but you can feel a clear connection with the sit bones on the bottom of your pelvis, and plant your feet firmly about shoulder width apart. And just see, can you find a fairly upright posture here? Without being rigid, it might help to invite a little space in the bottom of your belly. And allow yourself to move just a little bit. Rock, maybe a little forward and back on your pelvis. Feel how the pressure moves over the chair, and then go a little left and right. Just easily, comfortably. And then if you like, let yourself meander. Maybe you find a little more of a circular movement, but you just move your head through space, but you let that movement of your head pull through your chest, and you take your weight here and there on the chair. And notice that your legs can be active here. There might be a moment where one foot pushes the floor a little bit as one hip lifts a little away from the chair, or you go a little forward or back. And then come back to a place of relative stillness, but don't tell yourself that you have to sit absolutely still. Instead, allow maybe a little rhythm to be there, a little rocking, as you tune in again to your breath. And so as you follow your breath and you feel your connection to the chair under your pelvis, the floor under your feet, can you now broaden your attention to take in the room as well? Feel all that space out there around you, in front of you, behind you, above you. And just notice what it's like to have your attention out in the space around you. Stay connected to the breath and notice that your breath is an exchange with the environment. You draw the air in from the surroundings, and then you exhale out into the world again. And as you continue to tune in this way, let yourself shift again, left and right, forward and back. And you just sort of glide through the space. But now notice, as you make these movements, whatever direction you like, but notice the world out to your left. And maybe you turn and look to the left. Or maybe you just sort of listen to the left. But if you're moving in many directions, sometimes you're moving towards the left side. Sometimes you're pulling back away. So feel that movement of towards and away if your orientation is to the left. And then keep moving like this, but move your attention over to the right. And notice when you're moving towards the right, when you're moving away from the right. You can look to the right, or you can just listen to the right. And then come back to some kind of a feeling of being in the center. Again, not trying to sit as still as a statue, but a little quieter. And then from here, look straight out ahead. Maybe you see a wall. And then move your eyes slowly to one side. Maybe to the right. Let your head turn to the right. Let your chest follow, your shoulders. Come back to the middle and turn to the left. And keep turning left and right like this. Not just the eyes, not just the head, but inviting more and more of yourself to participate. And what you can begin to do as you turn is with your hands resting on your legs. On the side where you're turning, slide your hand up to the top of your thigh. You can have the other hand out at the knee. And then when you turn the other way, slide the hands to switch positions. So as you turn to the left, your left hand goes to the top of your left thigh and your right hand goes to your knee. And as you turn to the right, your right hand goes to the top of the right thigh and the left hand goes out to the left knee. And just see how this encourages the participation of your shoulders, your ribs. Feel the movements of your hands over your legs. See if you can keep your knees more or less pointing towards the front as you do this. But notice how your legs get involved. Maybe when you turn to the right, you lift the left hip a little bit and come more onto the right sit bone. And then as you go to the left, you can lift the right hip a little bit, bringing your weight to the left. Okay, and then come back to the middle. Pause here for a moment. If you like, you could rest against the backrest for a moment. And then when you're ready to resume, come back to the front of your chair. Again, establish that clear skeletal connection. Make a little space in the bottom of your belly. Imagine the top of your head lifting up a little away from the chair without rigidifying, just using an image of length through your spine. And now place your right hand again towards the top of your thigh near your belly. Have your left hand out on the knee and just turn yourself so you're facing a little to the right. And now close your eyes. And notice that when you turn this way, your left ear is pointed towards the front of the room. And so now, in a moment, you're going to do a movement that's just like what you were doing before. You're going to slide your left hand to the top of the thigh and the right hand to the right knee as you turn yourself to the left. But instead of looking to the left, think that you're listening out of your left ear. So at the beginning, your left ear is to the front of the room as you're turned to the right. And now begin to turn and slide your hands until the left hand is on the left thigh, the right hand is on the right knee, and you're turned more to the left, and see that your left ear is pointed more towards the back of the room. And now just continue turning between these two positions. And what you're doing with your skeleton is very much the same as when you were scanning with your eyes in left and right. But think now it's like you were following a sound with your left ear. So maybe there's a little bird that's flying from the front of the room to the back of the room. Maybe it's chirping. I guess that bird would have to be moving pretty slowly. You don't want to do this quickly, but just imagine that you're really tracking from your left ear. Okay, and then come back to the middle. Pause. You can open your eyes again if you like. And go back to the movement of turning left and right and just scanning with your eyes. Sliding one hand out to the knee and the other one back to the thigh on the side that you're turning towards. But notice if anything's different, especially when you turn to the left now. Going left and right. And now pause when you find yourself turned to the left. So you can have your left hand at the top of your left thigh, your right hand on your knee, your face is directed towards the left side of the space. And then close your eyes again and notice that your right ear is to the front of the room. And then go back to the movement as if you were listening out of your right ear. So you turn your head to the right until your right ear is oriented towards somewhere behind you. And then you come back until the right ear is pointing more forward. And your head and your chest and your shoulders, your knees, your legs, every joint in your body can help you make these movements. But the reason you're moving and rotating in this way is to aim your right ear to all these different positions. Okay, now come back to the middle. Open your eyes. Turn left and right again. And now keep going, but close your eyes. And think of first listening with your right ear as you turn one way, and then with your left ear as you turn the other way. And just notice when you finish the turn, that ear you're listening to, is it reaching forward in space, or is it reaching backwards towards the space behind you? So now switch that so that you still listen with one ear as you go one direction, and then you listen with the other ear as you go in the other direction. But now if you were finding yourself listening to the space out front when you got to the end of the turn, now you're listening to the space out behind you. And of course, if you were doing the opposite, then you switch that as well. Okay, and come back to the middle. Pause here. And now let's do a slightly different movement. So face yourself to the right again. You can have your left hand out at the knee and the right hand at the top of the right thigh. And notice that again you have your left ear pointed to the front of the room. And imagine you're listening from the left ear, but now you want to get a little closer to that sound. So you sort of lean your left ear out over your knees, and you bend at the hips and just glide your left ear out forward and then come back. So try to keep your ear more or less parallel to the floor. If you were near a wall, it's like you were going to try to create a seal, like you were going to put your left ear on the wall. So you're turned, but you're flexing at the hips and you're reaching your left ear out over your knees here. And now keep doing that, but notice your right ear. And as your left ear goes out over your knees, think it's like you're pulling your right ear away from the back of the room. And you can imagine how, like if a fly were to buzz in your ear or someone was speaking a little too loudly, you know how you would actually pull your ear a little away, and you might even feel that you're sort of closing the ear. And so you don't want to do anything too sudden here, the way you might flinch if there was a sound that was strong. But notice how you could be pulling your right ear away from the space behind you. And then you could think again of reaching out with your left ear. Again, similar idea with what you're doing with your hips and the movement of your head through space, but just notice how either moving towards something with your left ear or moving away with your right ear, it gives you a different kind of a feeling. Okay, and then take a rest, turn back towards the middle. And then you're going to do the same thing to the other side. So put your left hand at the top of your left thigh, the right hand out at the knee, turn yourself so that your chest and your head are turned a little to the left and your right ear is facing the front. And then reach with that right ear and let your head follow. Allow yourself to fold a little in your hips. It's like you're placing your belly out onto your thighs as you reach out through space with the right ear. Again, keeping the head level. So you're not tilting your ear down towards the floor up to the ceiling. You're gliding your right ear straight towards that space between your knees. And then keep doing the same thing, but think of the left ear pulling away from the space out behind you. And as you keep making the movement, you can sometimes think of the left ear, sometimes think of the right ear. Good. Okay, very nice. Come back and rest in your chair. Or another option, if you like, is that you could stand and just walk through the room a little bit. That's another way that it's sometimes nice to refresh when you're practicing movement in a chair. If you're walking around, come back and sit. Come to the front of your chair. And again, just notice your connection to the seat, to the ground under your feet, and how do you feel connected to space now? Notice the sounds in the environment. And now very slowly, please bring your hands up to your face so that you can cover your eyes and block out the light. You can place the heels of your hands on your cheekbones and have the fingertips resting on your forehead somewhere. Make sure you're not putting any pressure on your eyeballs, and make sure that the air can flow easily in and out of your nostrils. And just find a comfortable way to be like that, and then rest your hands again on your legs. In a moment, I'll ask you to cover your eyes again, but first notice where you're sitting and see again if you can find some space in your belly, some length up through your spine. And then when you bring your hands up to cover your eyes again, notice, do you maintain that length in your spine? Because what some people will do is as they raise their arms up, they'll sink in their chest and they'll roll a little back and maybe contract in the belly, and their spine shortens. So if that's what happens for you, it's fine. But then bring your hands to rest on your legs again. And this time, when you bring your hands up, be aware to keep that space in your belly, to keep that length in your spine. And you might find that doing that, your arms can feel a little lighter. And so now you're covering your eyes and you've blocked out the light. But still imagine that you're really seeing from your eyes. Let your elbows hang down in front of your chest. If you have them out to the sides, that'll be more work. So just try to soften your hands. And now do a very small movement of turning yourself a little left and a little right. You'll find that with the hands covering the eyes and the arms out in front of you, it restricts the movement quite a bit. So don't go very far. You might notice if one elbow slightly reaches forward and the other one comes a little back, that might give you a little more possibility of movement, but don't do much. But let the eyes be very soft here. And now keep rotating just a little bit, but think about your right ear again. Listen a little towards the back and a little towards the front with your right ear. Notice if the way that you're turning changes a little bit, because now you're oriented to listening with the right ear as opposed to looking through your eyes. And then switch back to the idea of looking, even though you can't see anything. And then switch over to your left ear. Listening a little forward and a little back with your left ear. And now uncover your eyes. Place your hands on your legs and eyes open or closed. You choose, but go ahead and turn left and right again, as if you're scanning the whole space. And now when you turn all the way to the right, just notice, are you looking or are you listening? And if you're looking to the right, what happens if you then orient to your right ear? Do you actually find that there's just a little bit more movement available? Maybe the way your head sits on top of your spine also shifts slightly. And then turn yourself out to the left, scanning with your eyes, but when you get to the very end of your range, listen with your left ear and find out, is there just a little bit more movement somewhere in the ribs, somewhere in the spine, something different with how your head is positioned on top. Okay, and come back to the middle. And now please bring your right hand up to cover your right ear. And just listen into your right hand, as if you were trying to hear into your right elbow. And then keeping your right ear covered, move your attention over to your left ear, like you're listening out into the world. And a few times move your attention from one ear to the other and notice the difference between a sense of listening inside, like you're listening to the inside of your body, and listening out into the world. And now switch. So take your right hand down, cover your left ear and listen. And then uncover your ears for a moment. And don't do it yet, but I'm going to invite you to cover both ears. And so the way it'll work is when I tell you, still not yet, I'll be silent, but then the next time you hear my voice, I think you will hear my voice with your ears covered, but probably not too distinctly what I'm saying. So just be ready. The second you hear my voice, you're going to uncover your ears. Still not yet, because I want to tell you one more thing. When you cover your ears, I'm going to ask you if you can notice 3 different things. When you cover your ears, you probably notice that your breathing is amplified, and you may also hear your heartbeat. And then there's a third sound, which I think of as the rushing of your blood, something like something like that. Okay, so I'm about to invite you to actually cover your ears, and I'll be quiet for about 30 seconds or so. But again, you're listening for your breath, your heartbeat, and the rushing of your blood. So go ahead now and cover both ears. And now please uncover your ears. Uncover your ears. Okay, great. So hopefully you were able to hear those three sounds, but just notice now your ears are open to the outside world again. Now in a moment, I'm going to ask you to cover your ears again, and you're simply going to revisit these movements that you've been making, turning from side to side. But I'll also invite you to get a little more creative, and you can take one elbow higher, take the other one lower, listen all around the space. The ears will be covered, but just notice what's it like to orient as if you were listening to one elbow or the other and moving through space. So you'll be kind of steering with your elbows, but your spine, your chest, the way your pelvis is on the chair, all of these places will be invited into the movement. So again, I'm going to give you about a minute or so to do that, and you can begin now. And uncover your ears. I'll say it a second time just to be sure. Uncover your ears now. Take a rest. But then, once again, just turn to look all the way left, all the way right. And if you like, when you get to the end ranges, use your listening to see if there's another tiny degree of rotation available. And now just one last thing. With your left hand, cover your left ear, and with your right hand, cover your right eye. So this is a funny situation. You can go ahead and close your left eye as well. But listen now from your left ear. And then look out of your left eye out into the world. And then look internally with your right eye as if you were looking inside your arm. And then listen to the outside world with your right ear. And now begin to move. Move your elbows through space here and there, and let your head, your chest, your whole spine, your pelvis, everything follow. Just turn, bend, fold, twist. Do anything that feels good to you here. And as you go, think of these 4 different places that you could have your attention. With each of your eyes or with each of your ears. And since one eye is covered and one eye is uncovered, and the same for your ears, sometimes you might have the sense of bringing your attention inside, and other times your attention is oriented towards the outside world. And just be playful. It's not important how you do this. Keep the movements comfortable. But just notice if each time you shift your attention, the way it feels to move through space or to relate to the ground and the chair underneath you is slightly different. And now, if you like, you can rest for a moment, but then you're going to continue, but this time cover your left eye and your right ear. And just keep playing, keep exploring. Very good. And then just bring your hands back down to rest on your legs. And turn left and right. You can slide your hands over your legs if you like. And just feel if there are new areas of your spine that have woken up to this movement of rotation. And how can you strategically use this option of intentionally listening or looking in order to open up new possibilities in your movement. And we're going to end the session, but I'll just encourage you to keep experimenting, even just when you're walking down the street, with orienting, sometimes with the eyes, sometimes with the ears, and just seeing what that opens up for you in your daily life. Does it help you feel more connected to the surrounding world?